to our caregiver support group meeting, which takes place at Roseview Manor, and this is our third meeting. So if we think about, again, a person losing language and not being able to express themselves, then you might see it coming out in behaviors. Altered perception means misinterpretation of sensory information. So, you know, all our five senses can become affected. So vision, hearing, our sense of touch, smell, and balance. And this can be upsetting for both the person and their caregiver or care partner. Another perceptual loss is loss of depth perception and the ability to see in 3 dimensions. And you might often see this with eating, where a person may be able to, you know, pick the food up in their spoon, but they may not know where that is in relation to their mouth. And so, you know, because of perception being affected, where it is in relation to the other parts of their body. Agnosia means a loss of recognition of sensory information and includes all senses, so sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell. And people with agnosia are not able to sort out what they see, hear, etc. The person may not recognize family members or friends or even themselves in the mirror. And we find that mirrors can be very disturbing for people with dementia because, again, they may see their image in the mirror, but they may be seeing themselves 30 years ago and not recognizing that, you know, they're fully 80 years of age or something.
You know, just the other day, less than a week ago as a matter of fact, my wife said to me, "Who's that girl you got at home?" And I said, "I don't have anybody at home." She said, "Yes, there's a picture on the mantelpiece and she's wearing a green dress." And it was her picture when she was 19. She didn't recognize it.
Right. So that's a very, you bring up a very good instance. So that's where that comes from. It comes from altered perception and, you know, and memory as well, problems with memory. Apraxia means loss of ability to initiate purposeful movements and patterns of movement, so sequencing activity. The person with apraxia may have trouble understanding directions, so back, front, left, right, up, down. And they may have trouble controlling their body parts to do familiar tasks, such as making a pot of coffee or brushing one's teeth. And if you've ever thought about when you make a pot of coffee, there's a lot of steps to it. There's probably about 20 steps to making a cup of coffee. So really, that's a complex activity, you know, to carry out. They know what they want to do, but for some reason the message does not get to the part of the brain that tells their muscles what to do. And since the message does not get from the brain to the body parts, people with apraxia often do not know how to start a movement or what order to follow. And you may see this, we often see this with our folks who have trouble sequencing what order their clothing needs to be put on. So sometimes you may see an inner piece of clothing on the outside. And so, again, that's where that behavior comes from. Anosognosia means loss of ability to realize that there's anything wrong. So the person with anosognosia doesn't know that they don't know. They have no insight as to their deficits and honestly does not realize that there's a problem because that part of the brain that allows reason is now damaged. And this can cause challenges when a person resents being told what to do or what not to do. So I really just wanted to go through the 7 A's because often that's where behavior comes from. And then I thought I would just go over a handy little sheet here that talks about some communication strategies for your loved one. Especially when you are having difficulty being understood, it's important to use the speak strategies on the left-hand side. So when you're having trouble being understood and you're trying to communicate with your partner, you need to smile, speak slowly and clearly, allow the person sufficient time to process what you're saying, don't rush them. The P in speak stands for paralinguistic cues, which can be helpful. So demonstrating how to do something. So if there's something you want them to be doing, you know, a little demonstration like brushing their teeth, especially if someone is having trouble with apraxia and doesn't know what to do next, you know, that little motion of, you know, just getting the person going with the toothbrush. The E in speak stands for elder speak. And what the research tells us, don't. Be aware of attitudes we bring to the communication process. So if there's a particular endearing term that you use, and you've always used it, you know, that's what you should be doing. You know, knowing what your loved one wants to be called is respect, and that's what they would want, right? The A in speak stands for ask simple questions. So if you're having difficulty being understood, you know, ask one or two things of the person. And the K in speak stands for keep language simple, sentences short, and use familiar words. And they tell us professionals to, you know, stay away from using professional jargon. So keeping it simple and short. And when you are having difficulty understanding what your loved one is trying to say to you, we suggest that you use the listen strategies. And the L in listen stands for look at the person. Because again, if you're not in their field of vision, and remember when we went through the 7 A's, you know, people have problems with perception. If they don't see you, you will be missed. So it's very good for them to see you right, you know, in front of them. Often as care providers, we forget, we'll startle someone. We'll come up along their side or something, and they're not expecting that. And so, you know, then you see someone get startled quite easily. So again, look at the person and be within their field of vision. The I in listen stands for invite open and honest communication. Be respectful. We can't be afraid of their emotions. We really have to sort of stay at the scene and find out what it is you're having trouble understanding. The S in listen stands for stop talking. If you're talking, you're not listening. And so if you're talking, then you're not listening to difficult speech or allowing that person to get out what it is they want to say. The T in listen stands for think about what you are hearing and pick out key words or phrases. So again, if you know there might be some words missing or some phrases missing, a few key words, you know, ask, you know, if you're missing something, or think about what you're hearing. The E in listen stands for empathize. So if the person's upset, you could say something like, you know, you look upset, and you know, I will try and help you, or you know, get what it is that you need. And the N stands for never assume that you are right. So we all have to take time to listen to difficult speech. What's that?
N doesn't stand for napping.
Napping, not napping. Okay. Okay. You're right. So those are just some of the handy dandy little communication strategies we try and suggest.